Hey everyone, Mike on Monday coming to you. First starting off with last week's weed of the week, or pest of the week. It was a heart-shaped broadleaf weed with a velvety touch, and you might be starting to see it popping through the tops of some of the soybeans, maybe the green beans out there. That plant is velvet leaf, and back in the late 70s and 80s it started coming into Wisconsin, at least in the southern part. And we struggled way back then as to what were we going to do with that plant and how to control it. And we got our hands around it, we got her taken care of. We'll have the invasion of water hemp to deal with, and those will make for long conversations, I'm sure, this winter. One point that I wanted to bring out on that water hemp was as you're starting to think on what to use for beans and chemistry next year, I was reading some information, and there was a comment in there that I really liked, that remember, choosing the right trait for your soybeans isn't always going to be the answer to your weed control. But food for thought. It's well said. This week's pest of the week is a grass. Tends to lay flat but can get upright. It used to be a big problem, more so when we were just using soil applied chemistries, or back in the days of just accent, because it didn't really work on it at that point. And it's a late season grass. Likes to have warm temperatures, good soil conditions from the standpoint of not too lumpy, because it's a very small seed, as you can see. We have a pretty broad branched out head that goes with it, and the biggest issue with this, it didn't necessarily yield or steal yield from us. It was more of an issue with harvest, and we happen to be in a field where we're chopping some corn silage, and this is where it become the most hazardous, because it would get wrapped up in the knives of the chopper and start creating some issues there. So comment your guesses below for our pest of the week. Moving on, we've got open house coming for our new facilities at Plymouth. All you growers got invites in the mail, a postcard that came to you. Check those times for those tours, and we'll also have some demonstrations or some plot demo stuff to look at. And for the public, you're welcome to join us between 4 o'clock and 5:30 if you want to see what the latest things in agricultural settings look like, and facilities, etc. So please join us for that. Today we're talking a little bit about what's happening with the corn. Some of us got rain, some of us didn't get rain. To the south of me, just a couple of miles, over an inch of rain, and just a couple of miles to the north of me, nothing. And as you can see, we're in a field that did get about ½ inch to 3/4 inch of rain. It had been very dry for many weeks. We don't have a lot of soil or water holding capacity in this particular soil, and as you can see, we've got a lot of variability. We've got some great tall dark green plants, healthy to the bottom, and not far away we got drought stricken plants that are just falling apart. The plan for this field originally was going to be green, but as it became so uneven and the growers' need for some forages was starting to grow, we deemed that we'll start taking some corn silage out of here. Now when we started, we were only at about 63% moisture, which is pretty low, as most of you know, for trying to get into a bag, a bunker for silage. This happens to be going as a green chop right to the cows, but it was our way of trying to manage how do we turn this into a production that's still helpful to this farm's operation, etc. As you can see, we had, where we don't have the stress, we got great nutrition, great fill of that plant, that ear filled right out to the end, 200 plus bushels to the acre. in that particular guy. And just up the row, as we pointed out, we've got a feature called tip back. And this is a case of we've got plenty of nutrients, we just couldn't get them into the plant. We ran out of water, and you can see that these were pollinated, and now working backwards, it's being sucked back into that plant. That plant wants to make seed. Mother Nature is going to help it create offspring, and the dominance feature in the corn is that the tip has the least amount of dominance, the butt has the most, because that plant is going to try and make some grain at all costs, and to do that it's just going to suck back nutrients and water from the tip and shove it down. Again, also that's what's happening with why is this green versus that being dark brown. Well, that plant is trying to make grain, and it's putting all the nutrients it can get its hands on, which happens to be inside the plant, and it's being put into the ear itself. So that's running out of nutrients. That's why it's brown. And over here where we had water still pumping nutrients in, we were able to continue feeding this plant and getting full ear production on it. Again, we estimated that this is somewhere around 40 to 50 bushel that we lost through this dry cycle. I mentioned that we got 3/4 of an inch of rain roughly here, and our moisture jumped way up. And as we're watching the moisture on this feed, as we're making it for corn silage, we jumped up a couple of points. And when you're doing this kind of management strategies, when you're basically green chopping, it's going right to the cows, it's not being ensiled or anything. You know, we have a lot of nutrients in the soil that are ready to go into that plant, and when you get a shot of water, you're going to get a big push of nitrates up into the plant. And as a dairy producer or animal feeding any of the animals here, we want to watch out for how much nitrates that we have going on into there. Our friends with CP Feeds are experts at the nutrition side of it. Feel free to contact them on, you know, what should I be watching for on nitrates? What's the nitrate level I can handle? As well as if you need some feed that needs to be tested, so because we don't want to get our animals in trouble with some drought stress situations. Again, the forecast is, this sounds like the state's going to get some rain, so you folks that have been trying to hang on there in dry country, it looks like a little reprieve might be coming today, tonight, and such. Hopefully we won't get flooded out like they have predicted in some areas. But with that, any comments or questions, feel free to give us a shout at Country Visions. We always like helping folks out, and hope to see you at the open house. With that, Mike on Monday. See you next week.